Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I am Disco Kitty, the Krabby Crafter. Today, we're going to be playing again with Sophie and Toffee. I love Sophie and Toffee. The first box is the Elves Box. Always a fun box. It's sometimes resin, sometimes UV resin, you know, depends on the month, what you get in there. The next box is the ever pretty Pixie Box. Just look at that box. It is so pretty. It looks so three-dimensional with all my lights. I love it so much. Anyways, I'm excited. Let's get into it. Okay, let's see what we get. First is the pamphlet. And in the pamphlet is all of the stuff. So much stuff. Getting through the very pretty paper. Oh, a little house. That's not a giant chimney, it's just a foot to keep it flat when it's upside down. Some nylon thread, very, very thin. Pigment ink. Glitter. Black hollow glitter, so pretty. A big mold to make a cloud. I've seen other people use it, it's lovely. These are inserts that you can put into molds you already have to make them druzy molds. They're cute. I don't have any molds they'll fit in though. Another mold, tiny pieces. A big circle druzy that you can insert into another mold. And you can make little druzy pieces out of this and then insert them into other projects. The big trinket dish. This thing is huge and it's heavy and it's glorious and I love it. A ladder. 3:1 epoxy resin. Okay, let's get into the Pixie Box, the ever pretty box. I love this box. Oh, it looks like I got something extra maybe? It was just stuck in the flap. I like extra. The pamphlet shows you what you get. Lots of stuff. Feathers. I love feathers. A little mold. Some purple thread. We'll be using that later, of course. Gold pieces. Jump rings. A light. Warm white. Pigment powder that has been broken up, but that's okay, it still works. More pigment powders. Alcohol ink. Ah, see? We did get extras. How cool is that? A couple of molds. Beads that I forgot to use. A bigger mold. Definitely gonna use that. Hang the feathers off them. It looks really cool. Big tarot card molds. These will be fun. Too bad there aren't more of them though. Holographic shapes that you can put in the resin. And some stickers that are little fairies that are super cute. Let's start by making stuff out of the Pixie Box. All of those colorants came from previous boxes. The UV resin I got on Amazon. I'm going to completely break up this powder so that it's easier to use since it's already chunky. I'm just going to use an eye makeup applicator and just spread it around on every flat surface inside the mold. This takes a little while. I'm not going to make you watch it all the way through. I'm going to add a little color to some UV resin, just a little bit, because you don't want it to be opaque, because if it's opaque, then it won't cure. But we're going to do a little transparent black so that the green will stand out. If you leave the resin clear, it'll still be green, but it won't be as vibrant. It'll be more translucent, which is fine. Make sure to pour slow. Pop any bubbles you get. It's going to be hard to pop bubbles inside the mold. And yes, I see there are a lot of bubbles going in, but it turns out okay in the end. Speed this up. Hit it with the torch every once in a while. It'll do two things. It'll keep the resin thin because it's warm, and it'll pop any bubbles. I work in a very cold room, so my resin thickens pretty quickly. We're going to cure this underneath my brandy new nail lamp, and we're going to cure both sides at least 3 minutes on each side under full power so that it is completely cured. When popping it out of the mold, you want to make sure that you do it gently. There are a lot of little tiny pieces in this mold that could get stuck and rip, and you don't want to rip your mold. So be gentle, be slow, it's not a race. Just look at how green that is. It is so pretty, and it is still slightly transparent, so it will allow light through, but it is still vibrant. I'm gonna trim off the edges, and then we're gonna use a nail file to really get them flush. We don't want sharp corners or sharp bits because sharp bits are sharp and they will cut you. Look at how pretty that is. All right, let's move on to the feathers. Gonna make one feather of each color. Gonna add a little bit of pigment to 4 different cups of resin. 2 of them, we're also gonna put a little bit of glitter in. You want to be very careful when you're pouring these in because you don't want any bubbles, and you don't want to accidentally pour it into the wrong side. That glitter is so pretty. That came out of Jackie's box. It's not hollow. I will never call it hollow. It is iridescent. But it's so pretty. Not really gonna see it too much in the white. The white is too opaque, but it is still nice. We will cure these under my new lamp the same way we did the bigger piece. On the first side, we start with a low setting and it ramps up over the course of 99 seconds. And then we'll hit it for 3 minutes at full power, turn it over, and just hit it for 3 minutes at full power. And that seems to work pretty well. I like it. Now we're going to tie these little feathers to the dream catcher, and here is where I have completely forgotten that I have beads to add to it. They're off on the corner of my desk and I never even looked at them. Silly, but that's okay. I think it comes out pretty well regardless. The cord strikes me as the type that's not going to keep its knot. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put a little drop of UV resin in the hole with the knot of the cord, and that'll hold it and make sure it doesn't come undone. I think that came out really well. I really like it. All right, let's move on to the next project. I think this is a cleanup brush for nail art. You're supposed to use it with acetone and clean nail polish off the edges of your nails, but I have no idea where it came from. It's really pretty though. I like the glitter. So I'm going to use this little tiny brush, probably should have used a bigger one, to get into all the nooks and crannies with this green chrome pigment. And it's going to be amazing. Just look at that. It already looks amazing. Tapped out any extra. And then we're going to use a little alcohol to clean off the edges because it's glitter and glitter gets everywhere. I also want the inside edge to be clean of the powder. I want just the crystal to be colored, not the dish itself. Mixing up the 3-to-1 resin, 3 parts of one part of the other, and then we will stir that and mix it real good for at least 3 minutes, preferably 5. Stir slowly, constantly scraping the edges and the bottom. The slower you stir, the less bubbles you'll introduce. You also want to try to keep it warm, because if it gets too cold, it will be too thick and it won't want to stir very well. But if you make it too hot, it will also cure more quickly. Not that I have a problem with this one, because 3-to-1 resin, as I'll say at the end of the video, cures very slowly anyways, allowing it to release most of its bubbles. Pour it in slowly, try to get it in all the nooks and crannies, and there are a lot of nooks and crannies in this. I'm gonna have to come back to this multiple times to hit it with the torch, and I don't do it enough, as you'll see at the end. I mixed some white and some blue pigment into my leftover resin to pour into the house. I live in a blue house, and I wanted to have a little blue house, so I have a little blue house. I think it came out really cute. I also make some little itty bitty tiny gummy bears. These are nail charms, but they'll work for a lot of different things. And maybe another little mold with a leaf. Now it's time for peeling. Just look at how pretty that is. That is so sparkly. All right, time to get these bad boys out of their molds. My leaf came out very nice. The little bears they actually worked really well. I was surprised. Some of them are kind of missing the tips of their arms and legs because of bubbles, but if you don't look too closely, you won't notice. They're cute. The house, it comes out really well. I was a little worried getting it out because it was kind of stuck around the edges, but we get it. And it comes out nice. For the most part. It's wonky. It's got a lot of bubbles. The roof is just weird. It's got some wibbly bits. It looks like it was handcrafted out of clay and then molded, but hey, it's cute. I like it. We're gonna put a little bear in the doorway just because we can, even though the bear did not come with the kit, but is super cute. Now it's time to pull this out, and we're gonna do a little ASMR for this one. Have to admit, that was pretty satisfying. It was kind of a weird crinkly sound, but I really liked it. Gonna use a little bit of UV resin to glue the bear into the doorway. I probably should have made him a slightly different color, but you know what? It's done. It's cute. And now we're going to use more UV resin to glue the house onto the trinket dish. And we're going to pretend that the trinket dish is grass and not stones, because that's what I want it to be. I want it to be a little yard, and I think it looks really cool that way. Just gonna plop it right on there and then cure it with my big giant lamp. I'm going to set my lamp sideways this time so that it can kind of sort of get in underneath. And then I'm gonna put the whole thing on its side so I can cure from underneath, although I don't know how well that will do with the pigment powder blocking it. But it seems to come out pretty well. I will eventually put more UV resin underneath the house to make sure it's absolutely stable and sturdy, but it's pretty good the way it is right now. Now let's get them all together. Line them up good. I think everything in these two boxes worked pretty well for me this time. I'm very happy with how they came out. Well, that seemed to work out pretty well. Here we have a little dream catcher. I think these came out really cute. And that green powder is very lovely. Here we have a little extra resin. And then some more extra resin we made into little itty bitty tiny bears. Little itty bitty tiny bears. Bears, so tiny. They're just so cute. I think I'm gonna use all of my leftover resin in little bears. And here we have the big piece, the druzy dish with the little house that I stuck a little bear in because it just fits so perfectly. Look how cute that is. That is super cute. Yeah. I may add a little bit more UV resin on there so it's a little bit more sturdy, but for now, I think it's okay. So, there we have it. Another month of Sophie and Toffee done, and everything worked really well. I used the UV resin that I used was fresh. I had bought it from Amazon. I'll leave the link below. And the 3-to-1 resin is always a pleasure to use, although this time it did leave a lot of bubbles. I didn't stay on it like I should have and blown off the bubbles with my torch every hour or so. And it's in a cold room, so it took like 4 days to cure. It's still not quite cured yet. The bears are actually kind of soft, but they will take longer. The smaller pieces, the longer it takes to cure. Keep that in mind, because there isn't enough exothermic reaction to make sure that it cures properly and quickly. That's part of the reason why the 3-to-1 resin takes so long, because the exothermic reaction is smaller, so it takes longer for it to heat up and cure. So, with that said, I think everything came out pretty well. We'll see you next week, and until then, stay safe. Loki, come here. Come here. Oh, you're such a good boy. Oh, stretch that butt. Come here. Oh, such a big boy. Oh. Gotta have our Loki snuggles. No? He's not feeling well. He's a good boy, though. Yes. He's a good boy.